In this demo, I'm going to show you some different ways to position things, move things around easily on Canva. In this first example, we're going to look at resizing images and text, and then I'll also quickly show you some text effects that you can do. So in this example here, I've got a header, I've got a body of text, and I have an image that I want to go with it. You can see that as I drag and drop the corners and edges of this to fit whatever space I need it to go into, it's automatically adjusting the font size with it. Once I have my image, heading, and text, or whatever it might be that's on your page all together, I can also grab them all together and I can adjust them together so that it keeps the ratio of sizes as they are, but will be easily movable to fit whatever kind of space you're working with on your document or page. Next up, I want to show you some different kinds of text effects. So we're going to look at this heading right here. And of course, you can go and you can change the colors of fonts, you can change the font you have, you can change the size from this top bar up here. But right now I want to go into effects, and this is kind of like your old school word art if you remember those. So you can add different designs to yours. You can add an outline to the edges. You can then change the color of the outline. When you go back up to the font color up here, that changes what will be in the center of that font. You can continue to change colors, rearrange, decide what works best for your design. Another option is a background. This kind of helps create like its own box around the text that you're working with, and you can choose a color. This is one called Splice. You can move, it's almost like a little shadow, like an outline shadow that you can move around the direction that it's going into, change the color of that. There's a lot of settings you can play around with as you're adding to the design of your font. This one is a glow, and then there's also an echo, which is kind of like a similar shadow. And again, you can change the colors of the effects as well as the colors of the original font. I can remove the effect down here on the bottom just to make it go back to my plain text. And then under effects as well is where you can create a curved text. So maybe you want it to go around an image, and you can choose if you want it to be a tighter curve or a wider curve, whatever best fits your design. And that is some different kind of text effects you can do. While we're here, I also want to show you some things you can do with letter and line spacing. So sometimes different texts will look better if the letters are closer together, or farther apart. And so up here on our top bar, we can see the T with the arrows on the bottom. And there is a bar where we can drag and drop our letter spacing to spread them apart or bring them closer together. If you have anything that has multiple lines on it, you can also adjust that easily, make it wider or smaller. That helps with making sure whatever text you need fits on your design. Now we're going to take a look at an important feature called grouping elements. So you can see here I have some designs. These are tags we use to visit the classrooms, and all I need to do is just drag and drop over all the elements that I want to group together into one image. You can also do this by holding Shift and clicking on each image you want to include and grouping it together. When you right click or when you hover over this in Canva, there's a group option right there. You can also ungroup if you change your mind and need to change something. This helps you be able to just grab one item and move it around rather than moving the background box, the image, and the font. It also helps me make the most of my page. I can edit things, change things around, move them to make them best fit on the page without having to move every individual element on this page. The next tool we're going to take a look at is about locking elements. So let's pretend I've got a design here and I want to move these objects around. So I hover over and I drag and drop to move these little images, but my background square that I'm using for this design keeps moving with it. That's really frustrating for me when I'm trying to move things around often. So an easy thing you can do is click on the element you don't want to move, right click, and click that lock button right there. So now for me, this white background is locked into place, and when I pick up those images, I drag and drop over, it's not going to select my white box to go with it. I can see this text box up here is still movable. And if I decide I need to move that, I can easily right click and click unlock. Another feature I can use on here with locking elements. So this up here is a text box, and I may want to go to lock and lock the position and appearance. That's going to lock where it is and the font and the color and things like that, but I can still go in and change it, change what it says. It's only locking the position and appearance. If I want to lock what it says, I can also click just the lock button, and that's going to help keep my design exactly as is. Next up, I want to look at layering elements. So this is a design for a family flyer. We wanted to make it really eye-catching, and also it needed a lot of information and details on there. So there's a lot of elements on this page, quite a few text boxes, images, lines for parents to write on, and there's a lot of parts of this. So sometimes it can get tricky to make sure that everything is layered correctly and in the right order. I wouldn't want this picture of the astronaut to end up going behind the gray background or behind those stars. So I can right click on anything on this page, click that position in the top bar, and then over here on the layer side, it will show me every element I have on this page, and you can easily pick up the element and drag and drop it. Closer to the top means that it's at the front, and closer to the bottom means that it's in the background. So that really helps you be able to move these items all around to make sure that whatever you want to be in the foreground at the very top of this document layer is up there. It's also a good way if you're looking for a specific or you're having a hard time grabbing one particular element, you can also go here to click on that element to be able to go back and edit it. This next feature is quite a game changer. So it is called Tidy Up, and it is one of the best features on Canva. So I'm pretending I'm making a worksheet for students. When we write how-tos in first grade, they need to include a materials page. So I'm going to make a really easy template for that here. I've got a spot for them to draw a picture and a line for them to write the word. The first thing I'm going to do is grab both of those elements and group them together into one little image there, one cohesive element. Now I'm going to click Command D on my Mac. I can also right click and duplicate. And something I love about Canva is they show you the keyboard shortcut for something that you're looking for right there. So Command D gives me duplicates of that item. Now I have a few of them, and I need to clean it up to make sure they look nice on the page. So I'm going to drag and drop where I want my lowest one to go. The one where I want at the highest is right there. Now I'm going to click on all of them, right click, and under space evenly, there's an option that says tidy up. Now it has centered them, it has aligned them, and it has evenly spaced them. I can see they're still overlapping. I obviously don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to increase the space it's allowed to take up. I'm going to move one box up a little bit, move one box down a little bit, grab them all again, right click, and again go to space evenly and tidy up. And now I feel like that's a pretty good fit on there. I can also grab all of these images, and when you right click, you can make sure that they are centered. You can align them to the top of your page, to the middle diagonally on your page, and also to the bottom if you needed to for any reason. One other way that you can space evenly within Canva is just by dragging and dropping, and it will show up with some really helpful guidelines and really good descriptions to show you and make sure that what you're doing is evenly spaced. So right here, I've got some groups of images. All it is a square, a face element, and a text box with a word describing it. So each of these are already grouped to be their own image here. But obviously I want to clean this up and make sure that nothing is overlapping and that they are all aligned nicely. So I'm going to start in my top left corner. And you can see as I am dragging and dropping these items over, it shows me my edge lines and things like that to make sure that I am aligned across the top, bottoms, and around. It even shows you when you start kind of snapping things into place, it shows you the distance between those objects. So you can make sure that as you add more over, all the distances between items are the same. It will also do this for the up and down direction, so you can make sure that everything is aligned just right. I'll just continue to show you on this one document with this series of images, the way it is making sure it is all centered across, centered up and down with these little purple dotted lines that show up for you. And it also shows up with those numbers, which I believe, depending on your settings, it might be like millimeters or something like that apart. So now I can make sure as I'm making my document, everything is perfectly evenly spaced. I can also now easily move these. Oh, that one doesn't look quite right. I'm going to make sure it's in the right spot. I'm going to grab all of these now. I can move them all together. I can group them all together. I can now move it as one whole image when they're grouped, and I can make it bigger to fill a space. I can make it smaller depending on what I need it to be, but they will be nicely all arranged on this page with the Space Evenly tools.